What's up everybody on YouTube? AJ Russ back to discuss another video, and today we're going to be recapping NFL Week 9. Alright guys, so there's a lot to talk about this week. So many good games, really across the board. Excited about this week. So I really don't want to take too long. Let's go on and get into the video, but before I do, make sure you hit that subscribe button and turn on post notifications. Make sure you hit that like button. I post videos about sports, lifestyle, and pop culture. But with all that being said, let's talk about this great week of NFL. So the first game, of course, that took place was Thursday Night Football between the Tennessee Titans and the Pittsburgh Steelers. The Steelers were able to win 20-16, and Will Levis, I think for sure he's a future quarterback of this franchise. He didn't have the greatest game against the Steelers, but of course he had that one great game against the Falcons, had 4 touchdowns in a week prior, a few days before, and he didn't throw any passing touchdowns, but he did have 262 passing yards, and they had a chance to win the game at the end, but Will Levis threw an interception. If I'm the Titans, I'm encouraged by his poise, never too high, never too low. He has a good type of swag on him, so for sure Will Levis is going to be promising for their franchise going forward. And the Pittsburgh Steelers, man, they just continue to get it done. It never looks clean, it never looks good. Really, they should be a bad team, but they're not. Mike Tomlin is a great coach, a future Hall of Fame coach for a reason, and that defense is all world. And of course, there's been problems with the offense. Of course, Matt Canada, he finally went down to the sideline instead of being in the press box calling plays, so maybe that made somewhat of a difference. But the Steelers, they're second place in the AFC North, and that whole division, if the season ended today, the Ravens, the Steelers, the Browns, and the Bengals, they will be in the playoffs, the entire division, which is insane to say. So that was a good win for the Steelers, and a lot of encouraging things for both teams in this matchup. The second game that took place in NFL Week 9 was a global game between the Kansas City Chiefs and the Miami Dolphins in Germany, and this game really wasn't close at first. Of course, the Chiefs were up 21-0. The Dolphins, man, they continue to be bad teams, but when they play against the Chiefs, when they play against the Bills, and when they play against the Eagles, they're just falling short. Are they frauds? I don't know. I think for sure that they'll be in the playoffs. And really right now, based on how the Bills played on Sunday Night Football, I think that they'll win the division in the AFC East, but they need to be able to beat these great teams, because if they continue to lose to these teams in the regular season, we could be talking about them going to the crib in the first round of the playoffs like last year. But in terms of the Chiefs, it's not looking as pretty as we thought it would, but at the end of the day, they're still getting wins. The Chiefs are now 7-2, and it's crazy. I've never seen Patrick Mahomes play an away playoff game, regardless of the situation, regardless of them not having deep threats and things of that nature. The Chiefs continue to get it done. They don't make excuses. They just continue to build. And even though the Dolphins were able to get within a touchdown in this game, the Chiefs were still able to hang on there and get a win. So that's what's most important, getting in that W column. And now the Miami Dolphins are 6-3, and the Chiefs are number 1 in the AFC at 7-2. Another game, and really a great story that took place, was between the Minnesota Vikings and the Atlanta Falcons. The Vikings won 31-28. The Vikings are now 5-4 after starting off bad this season. Of course, Kirk Cousins got hurt in week 8, tearing his Achilles out for the season, but Joshua Dobbs, who was just traded there on the last day of the trade deadline, stepped in, had a great performance, had 158 passing yards and 2 touchdowns. And really, it's crazy because he had to learn a whole new language, the whole new cadence of the Minnesota Vikings offense. Of course, going into a new team, it's not that easy in the NFL. Everyone thinks of football just being a sport, but football is really like school, man, especially at the quarterback position. You have to learn a new language, new verbiage, new terms, and really just a whole new communication on the new coaching staff. And Joshua Dobbs didn't even know all the names of his players and new teammates, but it's crazy. He was able to get the game ball, he was able to win, able to also have 66 rushing yards and a touchdown. So it really speaks volumes of how much of a professional that Joshua Dobbs is, being on his 3rd team this year already, after being on the Browns, after being on the Cardinals, and now being on the Vikings, and they have a chance to be a wild card in the NFC for sure. Of course, in the same division as the Lions. And talking about the Falcons, man, of course, Desmond Ridder didn't play in this game. They recently brought up Taylor Heineke, who had a solid performance, I would say. He threw for 268 passing yards, had a touchdown and interception, but the Falcons, they certainly still have a chance in the NFC South. Some games I'm really not going to spend too much time on, and this is one of them. The Saints and the Bears. I mean, the Saints took care of business and did what they're supposed to. They were losing to the Bears at first, but they came back to life. 124-17. Derek Carr threw for 211 passing yards and 2 touchdowns. And of course, that defense, they were able to ending up holding the Bears. Of course, Justin Fields is still hurt, so Tyson Bagent, he played, had 3 interceptions. So like I said, the defense was able to hold on, and the Saints, they took care of business. I mean, that's a win that you have to have against the Bears, who are 2-7 now, really struggling. Like, let's be for real, this is the expected outcome. This is another game that qualifies for not needing much discussion. The Green Bay Packers blew out the Los Angeles Rams 20-3, and of course, Matthew Stafford didn't play in this game, so that makes a difference for the Rams. Brett Ripon, or however you say his name, he played in the game instead, had an inefficient game, completed only 13 out of his 28 passing attempts, 130 passing yards and 1 interception. I mean, not surprised by that. Cooper Kupp and Puka Nacua weren't able to get involved because they had below average quarterback play, so no one's surprised about that. Really, the Green Bay Packers needed this win to have some type of life. Jordan Love had a decent game, I would say. He completed 20 out of his 26 passing attempts, which is impressive, for 228 passing yards and a touchdown. But it is against the Rams, so I mean, like, come on, let's be for real. But yeah, that's a good win for the Packers. They're not 3-5. We'll see if they're able to make any type of push, or if they'll continue to struggle, because Brian Gutekunst Gutekunst, the GM of the Packers, said that these next remaining games in the season for Jordan Love is going to say a lot. This game is a matchup between the Washington Commanders and the New England Patriots. The Commanders took care of business, winning 20-17. A close game for sure. I would say the Patriots, after being bad, and honestly they probably still are a bad team, they've been at least a little more competitive in the past few weeks. Getting that win against the Bills, I think, really helped, but they were able to lose this game. Ultimately, Sam Howell, he threw for 325 passing yards, had a touchdown and interception. Really, overall, just a solid game for the Commanders, but they did trade Montez Sweat to the Bears, and then of course, traded Chase Young to the San Francisco 49ers, which, of course, is a big move, but they were still able to win this game against the Patriots. We'll see if the Commanders are able to still be competitive going forward, because those are two key pieces that you lose on the defensive end, so your defense is going to slip for sure after losing those two. And for the Patriots, I mean, for me, I would punt this season, honestly, and try to get Caleb Williams. That's just my opinion, but they've been competitive in the past few weeks. And I mean, of course, you know the Patriot way. So honestly, if you call the Ravens the best team in the league right now, I wouldn't blame you, and I really wouldn't argue it. They dominated the Seattle Seahawks, winning 37-3, now having a 7-2 record in the AFC, just behind the Kansas City Chiefs. Really, you can make the argument that the Ravens should be 8-1 or 9-0. Just playing great football, man. I really love to see it, of course, with Lamar Jackson. He didn't throw any touchdowns on Sunday, but they're just playing really good overall, and didn't really need to do too much out of him. Keaton Mitchell had 138 rushing yards and a touchdown. Mark Andrews had 80 receiving yards. Odell Beckham Jr. scored his first receiving touchdown as a member of the Baltimore Ravens, so you just love to see it. Maybe this is the year that we see the Ravens really make something shake in the playoffs, potentially make an AFC championship game. It'll be really good to see. And for the Seahawks, man, that was a bad loss. That's one you just want to wash away for sure. Now, this is a game that I really couldn't wait to talk about. Of course, you see on the thumbnail, we have CJ Stroud, easily Rookie of the Year. Of course, Offensive Rookie of the Year, because you know there's both awards, offensively and defensively. But man, he is playing great. I mean, a definition of poise, balance, and just confidence, and just love to see it from CJ Stroud. And I'm not a Texans fan, but I went to this game for sure with my dad because he's a Buccaneers fan. So I went to that, and of course, being from Houston area, it was amazing to see for sure in person. Had 40-something seconds left on the clock. That was too much time for CJ Stroud. He was able to slice up the Buccaneers defense really the entire game. Of course, he had 470 passing yards and 5 touchdowns, so it was really coming easy for him. Just a great game from him, and also was able to get people involved like Tank Dell and Noah Brown, who had 153 receiving yards and a touchdown. I just really love seeing that performance. I mean, CJ Stroud right now, and really just this whole season, has been a top 10 quarterback. That really goes without saying and without discussion, because he's just been playing great football, and I love it, man. For sure should be a Pro Bowl quarterback in his rookie year, I feel like. And the Texans, they have a chance because of him. A chance to make the playoffs, or really a chance to do a lot of things special in the AFC South. I think as a wild card, though, because the Jaguars, they're really real in that division. And they're going to want their revenge because the Texans did win in that game earlier in the year. But CJ Stroud, man, he is definitely easily Offensive Rookie of the Year. Talk about the Buccaneers, man. That was a game that they had. They just let it go away. I mean, it's really that simple. I feel bad for my dad because he's a Bucs fan, a long-time life Bucs fan. But hey, CJ Stroud, man, they deserve that win, and the Texans played great football and now have a 4-4 record. Another game that we can skip through is the Cleveland Browns blowing out the Arizona Cardinals 27-0. Really nothing too much to be said. Clayton Tune started for the Arizona Cardinals, of course, with Joshua Dobbs being traded, and that Tune is everything that you need to know. Clayton Tune is a quarterback that was at my school last year, University of Houston. So I like seeing that as a U of H alumni, but not surprised at how he played. Cleveland Browns defense is all world and great. And Deshaun Watson had a really good game as well. Had 219 passing yards and 2 touchdowns after missing his previous few games with an injury. So that's good for him and good for the Browns in general. Amari Cooper also had 139 receiving yards and a touchdown. So the Browns, like I said about the AFC North, man, with the Ravens, with the Steelers, and with the Bengals, that whole division has a chance to make the playoffs. And of course, it's still early. It's still NFL Week 9. You still have a lot of football to be played, 8 more weeks, but that division is really good, man. The next game that we really don't have to spend a lot of time on is an Indianapolis Colts winning over the Carolina Panthers 27-13. Bryce Young threw 3 interceptions in this game, man. And talking about a quarterback earlier in CJ Stroud, who was a second pick, Bryce Young, of course, he's had a lot of struggles this season for sure, but I still wouldn't write him off. It's way too early. He's a rookie, man, and everyone gets acclimated and adjusted to the NFL very quickly, but he is small, man. We have to talk about that. And the Texans, I mean, they're thriving with CJ Stroud. So Bryce Young and CJ Stroud, they're going to continue to be compared to each other throughout their whole careers. And of course, the Panthers, they won that game in week 8 against the Texans, but it doesn't matter now because the Panthers, they only have 1 win. So it's very bad. It's looking tough, looking bleak. And for the Colts, they're still a competitive team at 4-5 right now. Of course, under 500, but still competitive. And Gardner Minshew is playing good football for them, good solid football, I would say. Jonathan Taylor's still trying to get his rhythm back, of course, but it's a good win for the Indianapolis Colts. For as many good games that we had this week, there were some blowouts too, and this is another one. The Las Vegas Raiders destroyed the New York Giants, winning 30-6. Shout out to the Raiders having a new type of culture and identity after firing Josh McDaniels, Antonio Pierce, linebackers coach stepping in, creating a new identity for the Raiders. Really love to see it, and you can tell that the players respond great to him. Aiden O'Connell had a solid game. He threw for 209 passing yards. Josh Jacobs had 2 touchdowns on the game. The Raiders defense really dominated. Of course, you have people like Max Crosby on the defensive end, who is the definition of Raiders culture, so shout out to them. And praying for Daniel Jones, because it looks like that he tore his ACL in that game. And the Giants, like I said about the Patriots, they might as well punt this season. 2-7. They're playing against the Dallas Cowboys next week, who humiliated them in week 1 of this season, so I wouldn't expect anything different from the next matchup in week 10 between the Cowboys and Giants. So just the Giants, I feel like it's a lot of bad going for them. This game between the Dallas Cowboys and the Philadelphia Eagles was a very anticipated one. And of course, they play again next month on December 10th. But this was really a measuring stick game for the Cowboys after getting blown out a few weeks ago against the 49ers and now playing their division rival in the Eagles. And this is a really good game. The Cowboys, they had several cracks to win this game, but ultimately fell short, losing 28-23 against the Philadelphia Eagles. I mean, they even had a chance to win the game at the 6-yard line of the Philadelphia Eagles with 27 seconds left, and penalties, delay of games, and the offensive line getting beat ultimately is what cost them. But I would say one thing about this game: Dak Prescott played really good. Of course, a lot of people have been critical of him over the past 2 seasons, of course, with his interception woes in 2022 and then just in the playoffs not showing up at the biggest moments. But he had a great game. He threw for 374 passing yards and 3 touchdowns. Of course, if he would have made that 2-point conversion against the Eagles instead of stepping out of bounds, that would have made a big difference. That 1 touchdown to Shoemaker that was inches away from being a touchdown, that makes a huge difference as well. So it's very tough. Just a game of inches, literally. That's what it is in the NFL. But the Eagles, they were able to win. And the Eagles, of course, I don't think they're as good as a team as they were last year, but they're still able to get it done. Now have an 8-1 record overall. And Jalen Hurts, it did look like he got a little injured in the game, but he ended up being fine and able to finish the game and had 207 passing yards and 2 touchdowns. I think that the best quarterback on the field yesterday was Dak Prescott in terms of the matchup, but of course we do recognize that Jalen Hurts is being the better overall player, but only time will tell. We'll see them again in week 14 when they play as well. That'll be a really good game. I think that the Dallas Cowboys, they still have a chance to potentially win a division. They have to win out and of course win that second game against the Eagles. But the Eagles, I mean, they're playing great football, man, and of course they were in the Super Bowl for a reason, and they for sure are still the best team in NFC right now. You have to give them props for sure. The last game that took place on Sunday was a matchup between the Cincinnati Bengals and the Buffalo Bills. A rematch of the divisional round, and the Bengals continued to show why they are the better team, winning 24-18, beating the Buffalo Bills for a 4th straight time. And I mean, like I've said multiple times and on multiple occasions, Joe Burrow is better than Josh Allen. I mean, I just hate to say it like that. Of course, Josh Allen is a great quarterback and of course a franchise quarterback and one of the best in the league, top 5 for sure. But Joe Burrow is the second best quarterback in the league behind Patrick Mahomes. And I don't know why the Bengals always start off so slow. Of course, you can credit the calf injury to Joe Burrow earlier this year, but at the end of the day, they're 5-3 right now. Like I said, in the AFC North, if the playoffs started today, they would be in the playoffs. And I think that the Bengals will make the playoffs for sure. It don't matter if they're 4th in the division right now. I think that they'll be able to get a lot of wins going forward in the rest of the season to get their rhythm ultimately, which they are right now. It's crazy because Jamar Chase didn't even have a crazy game. Of course, T. Higgins had 110 receiving yards for 8 receptions. And then, of course, Joe Burrow had 348 passing yards and 2 touchdowns. Joe Mixon had a touchdown. Didn't have a lot of rushing yards, but still made a difference scoring a touchdown. So the last game that took place was a matchup between the Los Angeles Chargers and the New York Jets. That game, honestly, I expected it to be more competitive, but both defenses really dominated, especially the Chargers. But you would think the Jets defense would have dominated more, but the Jets offense is so limited with Zach Wilson, and he has improved his game, but he's still so severely limited, and they're really held back. And they just now have a 4-4 record, but a lot of rumors about Aaron Rodgers coming back. My take on it is that he does not need to come back, man. A lot of people are saying sometime around Christmas Eve. That is too quick. 3 months on an Achilles injury when he'll be 40 years old in early December. That's too much of a risk, man. And that offensive line is very suspect. There was a reason why Zach Wilson was sacked 8 times. The team had 3 fumbles. I mean, I would just wait till next season. It's the more safe thing to do. And for the Chargers, Justin Herbert really didn't have a crazy game either. But like I said, the defense dominated. They had a punt return on special teams. So a lot of things went the Chargers' way, and in my opinion. So if there's anything that we can learn from NFL Week 9 is that it's time for teams to come with it. Like I said, the Ravens, they might arguably be the best team in the league right now. Of course, you have the Chiefs, people like that, the Eagles too. A lot of different contenders in the NFC as well. Still with the 49ers, with the Cowboys and Lions. But we're getting into that mode where teams are about to separate themselves. In 10 weeks from now, we'll be in playoff time, which is crazy to say. Time moves by so fast, but it's already almost 2024. We're on the road to Super Bowl 58. A lot of great things are coming, and it's going to be really a great time of the year going into the winter, this November, December time, close to Thanksgiving and Christmas. Beautiful time to be a football fan and a sports fan in general, also with the NBA, but definitely in the NFL right now. So that's what we're learning right now, that things are about to heat up. With that being said, though, guys, let me know what y'all thought from NFL Week 9, some of your takeaways and things of that nature. Let's talk in the comments down below. I appreciate you guys watching always. Make sure to follow me on Instagram at SwaggyRust and also on TikTok at SwaggyRust02 for cooking videos, shorts, and things of that nature. Make sure you subscribe and hit that like button and turn on post notifications. More videos are on the way. I hope you are doing well and being blessed, and y'all have a good one.